Second plate. Don't forget the achara. Thank you.
How it came about, it was a fascinating story.
Thank you so Chef Chris. Singapore has always been, for me at least, the American dream of Asia. The tipping point was that longing to go home. That's why we made a Cebu here.
Hello guys, I am the Manoy Gusla. Today is a very special day. Because Manoy Gusla is international media.
Manoy Gusla is a character I made. It's a satirical character about how people are online, that they would do anything just to be famous.
Hello, auntie. Hey, smile, auntie.
He speaks in broken English, but he really tries so hard to speak English. Actually, that's the accent of my dad, I guess. That's a really strong Filipino accent.
I have finally found Cebu in this Singapore. Lechon!
I could get really annoying for people who don't appreciate that. But you know, I always want a room that's full of laughter and love.
Very special day. It's a Gusla day.
He find it so funny. I find it so confusing.
Everything will be Gusla.
He's the owner, a crazy guy.
Manoy Gusla was made for me to release the stress and just to present Esquina in a brand new light.
Don't forget, Esquina, Cebu, Singapore.
Esquina Cebu is at a place called Timber Plus. It's a gastronomic food hall.
Apart from being on YouTube, I am a lechonero of Esquina Cebu. A lechonero is someone that roasts whole pigs over charcoal. I started this brand like 5 years ago or so, and we specialize in selling roasted meat congruent to how it's done in Cebu, Philippines.
So lechon comes from Spain. The closest that you could get for the Spanish type of lechon would be the Manila lechon. They don't stuff the lechon. They cook lechon without the spices inside. Cebuano lechon has stuffing that would be a mix of Spanish culture and Indian culture, which is for the spices, and your Chinese suckling pig.
When you eat the Cebu-style lechon, you don't even really need any sauce to go with it. It's already very flavorful.
Esquina Cebu serves lechon. We have belly lechon. We have sinugbang baboy, which is grilled pork. Inasal manok, which is chicken. We have crispy pata. It's crispy pork knuckle. When we started, of course, you need to know what kind of meat you have. The guys behind Tradewinds approached me, and then we talked. From then on, we were working partners already. The pigs in Singapore are not really bred for lechon, unlike in Philippines. So I'm looking for something that is close to how the Philippine pig is.
This is a good pig, very good.
Okay, so this is
Yes.
20 kilos. We need something that absorbs taste, and we need to have a good ratio of fat and meat. So I guess this one, because of the ham part, looking at it, it can absorb more of the marinade.
I'm preparing for the event called Grill and Chill. It's a monthly thing wherein we cook in the courtyard of Timber Plus. We do it as how it is in Cebu, Philippines.
When I started this, I couldn't carry a 30-kilo pig, but now my limit is around 50 kilo. You need to have that inner strength. Traditionally, this is where you say your thank yous to the pig, caress it, Thank it for the life that it gave. Thank you for your life, that I could do business. In Philippines, I would help out in the kitchen because my grandmother was a really good cook. But in Singapore was honestly the very first time that I've really invested time and really experimented. So now I've grown to love how cooking is.
Christian's lechon is Cebuano style lechon, which is of course famous among the local Filipinos here. All of us from Cebu obviously feel that the Cebuano style lechon is the best Filipino lechon available. So of course we're biased, but that's our opinion. In Cebu, when I was growing up, every weekend it was normal for people to just go to the beach. The thing that you must eat aside from barbecue is of course lechon.
We have it every Sunday. Cebuano relationship to lechon is that deep. I even remember when I was younger, after my father left us because my parents were separated, so we had this trying times in terms of finances. I specifically remember we would save money. Just, you know, on a Sunday, we would have a good Sunday and have lechon. I'm from Cebu, Philippines, a third world country. Honestly, for me and my wife, we wanted more opportunities and we wanted to make a mark. So yeah, so we decided to go to Singapore. We were like 27 years old, 26. We didn't know anyone. Singapore has always been, for me at least, the American dream of Asia. You know, it's the Singapore dream, full of promise and, you know, land of milk and honey. We lived in Bugis, a shop house. Our room was like 2 meters long and 2 meters wide. So upstairs was where we sleep, downstairs was a makeshift kitchen. The challenges, of course, was money. In lunchtime, I would just have like $1, $2, and I would buy soya bean milk, and I would sit near the river, and I would construct my dreams from there. Another challenge was getting the employment pass, but I'm the type that never gives up. Even if you give me a scenario right now, like close to 0 exit points, right? I would really use my wit to find my 1% exit point there.
His story was a fascinating story. People like to hear his story, how he came about. This is a sixth flavor, the story, your heritage. People want to eat the story these days.
I remember walking from Bugis to Chinatown, MOM, to appeal my case. And luckily enough, they allowed me to take a general assessment test. They gave me a credential of A-level. That was what I used to apply for a PR and to apply for a job.
Christian!
Kamusta ka? Re, papi!
We met at Ace Insurance, and we were the best salesmen there.
My baby, my baby. Christian!
Uncle!
Nino, Christian!
Nino!
How are you?
Why are you so plump?
He can survive, he can thrive, either you just throw him in the streets, ask him to sell this and that, he's gonna kill it.
Thank you, man.
Financially, it was really comfortable. I could afford to go on weekly staycations and, you know, all that. I think having money as the only incentive to do things, it just got old. I simply wanted to do more of my life, not just chasing sale after sale. I didn't want to die like just on my desk. We're at the pond, Pastor Is. When I do come here alone, then I try to meditate. I think meditation allows you to solve your problems with the most minimal effort and not just think about problems. You know, think about solutions. Myself telling me, just stop and do something else. That's why I left the corporate world. I wanted to go home to Cebu, right? But my wife said she didn't feel comfortable because there are more opportunities here and it's safer here, a better future for the kids.
Hey, Robin. How are you?
I'm fine.
The tipping point was that longing to go home. So that's why Esquina Cebu was born. We made a Cebu here. One thing you need to understand, working and living in a country that's far from your country, the best way to go home is through food. That's Esquina Cebu, where people just relax. It's a place where you go home to as a Filipino. Lucky Plaza is like little Philippines. When you go to Lucky Plaza, you would succeed, right? But you would always be identified as a place in Lucky Plaza. I wanted to be different. We first set up shop in Paya Lebar. It was a Sleepy Hawker center. I've always wanted to be that place. It puts the emphasis on how the food tastes like. I started my romance with food because of my father. Because my dad would always bring me to back alleys and places that are run down, which is something that you would see has resonated into how I do things.
From the very start, we don't have enough stuff. We used to do the things in a hard way. Yeah, just like Cebu.
In Singapore, the challenge is manpower. So I remember starting Esquina with my business partner, Harold, and my wife, AJ. AJ was doing cashier work, and she would cook rice. So I would do the chopping, cooking, cleaning up the shop. What I've learned in Singapore is that you can run a kitchen with just 3 people, that you don't need to surround yourself with so much of staff. So I've always admired how people cook noodles here because it's so efficient with just an auntie, an uncle. The only uncomfortable part was for me to do manual work. I was so used to being in an office. So I remember last time after a whole day of cooking and I would just lie down on the carpet and I was literally crying, man, because I was so tired. When I first cooked my first lechon, it wasn't as beautiful as this. And then I slowly learned, taught myself, spent time with lechoneros in Philippines. This will be for 2 hours of roasting. The Filipino lechoneros, they could do like 4 of these and 5 in one day. I still have so much to learn from them. They're my heroes in a way. Cooking lechon is all about patience. I can proudly say that I've bled, I've got burned, I cried in the name of being a lechonero. I was really afraid on the first day because, of course, you wouldn't know how people react.
When we first opened, it's very hard for us because we have to make our name. Because people here in Singapore, they don't know about us. But on the second month, very shocking. The Makan Sutra guy, Sito guy, cover us, will become famous.
It was through a gas station manager. He said, you gotta go try this out. For Singapore, he's very on track. Technique-wise, it's all there, it's all there.
As far as I know, he's the only lechonero that I've met here in Singapore.
There was a hype. You know, you take pride in hearing people coming from JB, people coming from Jurong, people coming from Pasir Ris, you know. Profit margins was good. It was good business.
The problem is the owner, they sell the building. The new owner, they make it a loss, so we cannot sell pork there.
Well, firstly, his original location, you sell pork next to a mosque. That's a no-no.
I guess the ethnic mix as well as the religious mix of Singapore requires that people are more sensitive to what food is being served. No?
Luckily, the owner of the timber invited us to come here when he opened the timber. So that's why we're here.
that's an expensive gig down there. This is the thing that affects lechon operators like him. Cost.
Even if the business is going a tough time, I can see Christian is still positive.
Second plate. Don't forget the achara. Thank you.
Chris is what I call a nuclear cockroach. They will never die. His beliefs, his desire, his need to succeed is there.
Thank you, Chef Chris.
Somebody like him has something a lot of other local startup hawkers don't have, young or old.
We would go to Christian's place back when it was still at Paya Lebar.
I've been eating here for quite a long, yeah.
Even in Timber Plus, even though it's far, people still make it a point, like in a week, and then you make loyal customers. And we were quite lucky of the support.
I have more attachment to here because it feels like home rather than those fancy Filipino restaurants.
It reminds me a lot of home, so it makes me feel happy.
There's a lot of lechon hawkers or restaurants that reach out to Filipino. This guy reaches out to everybody.
It was my first time trying this piggy dish.
We love suckling pig. The skin was so crispy. It's really, really nice.
So the real pride that I have about Esquina has succeeded in becoming a place where you go to. It's like a Sunday for a Filipino family. The way I serve it is how it's served in Philippines. It's just chopped up meat and rice. It's celebration of food and taste. It's not a celebration of how good it looks like on the table. The only change, the biggest change that we did to adapt to Singapore taste would be to lessen the saltiness side and not use MSG. Because I've realized that not using MSG is something that people prefer in Singapore, I guess.
The lechon culture is something that I think if more people talk about it, it'll catch on.
I hope the meal is okay so far.
I was surprised from my Singaporean friends. Many of them actually say that they are actually quite accustomed to Filipino food simply because many of them also have Filipino household service helpers. So I think over time, the Filipino cuisine will become more and more well-known.
Hello, your lechon?
Fresh off the grill. Thank you for the orders.
It's fresh.
We are doing this out of love for our culture, and we are just merely showcasing our culture. If there's a place in the world that I want to impact change, it should be in Cebu, because that's home. I've always felt that there's still so much that you can do in Cebu and in Philippines in general. I decided to expand Esquina Cebu in Philippines because the whole goal has always been to go home.
I think he's the first few foreigner who set up their foreign food in Singapore and brought it back to Philippines.
I'm pretty ecstatic because I could see that people accepted the taste well. The second day that Manila was operational, I cried on the side. The comments and the reviews and return customers as early as a week of operation, that's a really good thing. So other brands might be bigger, but they might not represent culture as how we represent it. I'm just doing whatever I do in Singapore and doing it in Manila. Hey, hello.
Hi, Dad.
Hey, hi, Mommy.
I'm not in the house.
Can I chat with the kids?
They won't talk to you because they're having so much fun.
Oh, okay. So around a year ago, we decided to move to spend more time in Cebu as a family when we had our third child, because simply you just need family support for that. Because Filipinos are very family-oriented.
I'm doing grocery shopping.
Oh, you are? Are you buying milk for the kids?
Yes, grocery.
My wife, she has sacrificed so much, like even to a point that her whole world revolves around the family now. You know, I've always found that unfair for her. When the kids are big, she could do what she liked. She understood. She saw what I saw. It's just that whatever value you have in moving back, like the family love and all that, it gets overshadowed by what Singapore has to offer, like let's say security. Yeah, goodbye, love you. You just need to weigh pros and cons.
Now I run everything here in Singapore because now Chris is busy in Philippines.
I would think it would be better for him to be here more often because he is the face of the company.
Yeah, here in Singapore, when the customer buys, they always asking for Christian.
He used to go here and he normally cook the food here in his stores. I sometimes do talk to him.
People miss him, yeah. Then the people on our page, they always commenting on, hey brother, where are you? Come back here in Singapore, yeah, just like that. Yeah. Darling, you're gonna be all right without me.
The events that I come back to would be like manual lechon events. Esquina is your baby, so you need to be there for your baby. We started in Singapore, so we need to maintain what we have in Singapore. No crispy skin. You don't like... Yeah. You put it in the mouth. There you go. That's how you do it. We don't put MSG. This is our second home away from home. I'm just working towards expanding the brand. It doesn't mean that, you know, I'm leaving the brand to dry.
Everything about Esquina Cebu is because of Christian. He's the face of this company. He's the one making us united here.
Of course, I would always feel Cebuano, but I identify myself as Singaporean in a way that I've survived. You know, it's the Singapore dream. I come from a third world country. When I came here, it was full of promise. And then slowly you understand that you don't get all this just by not doing work. I want to inspire people to see that if it can be done by someone as average as Chris, it can be done by anyone else. You can still survive beyond a desk job. There's other options out there. If a Filipino guy can do it in Singapore, why can't you?
Sabi ko na sa'yo, Dad, huwag ka na kay Robert, Dad. Kasi si Paul na sa'yo, naglugo tayo na